Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled. Today we are discussing an amazing movie from the 1930s, 40s, something. Anyway, it's a classic movie, the classic movie. Apparently, according to the American Film Institute, it is the best movie ever made, bar none. They have They have voted this over and over and over again for years. It is Citizen Kane. And it's about a guy named Charles Foster Kane who creates an empire of uh, newspapers and opera singers and all sorts of stuff. He's basically, and he tries his hand at politics. He's he's a bit like he really at first you think he wants to stick it to the man, but then you find out that he is too, you know, he's too wrapped up in himself to do that. Anyway, with us today, Lee, Harry, and Alex, and I just wanted to find out their thoughts on this. So, because they haven't seen it ever, uh, would you want to say something? Or have you not seen it ever?
I've seen it before.
Okay, here's Alex then. He's gonna start us off just to make it easy for you guys, and then we'll drop you in the deep end. Okay, here's Alex.
It is a good cast. It is good in terms of the direction. I do like other Orson Welles movies, like The Third Man and The Magnificent Ambersons. And I don't remember, was there another movie he did called Touch of Evil?
Yeah.
I think so.
So,
but I like those. But
wasn't that a sequel to this?
I don't believe so. No. But anyway, he had a lot of deals, and he thought he was a genius, which he was very, very, very bright. But I don't know if he was a genius. And of course, unfortunately, this previous generation from the '70s got to know him from the very corny commercials and the wine commercials and stuff like that. And unfortunately, he got very big in terms of like Marlon Brando. But originally, they weren't like that. Originally, they were very skinny. Even W.C. Fields was skinny at the beginning. But yeah, it's a good movie in terms of the direction. It is a dramatic movie, but I like other movies of his. So I've seen this like 3 times. It seems like it's 3 hours long. I have to agree with Family Guy. It probably should be a little shorter. I'm sorry to say. And of course, they did make fun of another movie that we will be reviewing very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's very smart, and he's charismatic. But he wasn't going to be Marlon Brando. He wasn't going to beat Rock Hudson. He wasn't going to beat any of those people. Plus, his movies were too serious as well. He didn't really do any movies that were funny or charming, really. So I think that's the other thing that he forgot, that he was trying to be too intellectual.
It's true.
And unfortunately, his movies, while very good, um, they're not cheerful, enjoyable movies. They're very serious, or just like The Third Man, when he plays the villain, as charming as he is, but he ends up selling penicillin that ends up hurting babies, and it's like, okay, that's a good story maybe, but it's not cheerful, and you're not going to make people remember you happily. And then he also got known for not only War of the Worlds, but scaring everybody. So it's kind of like, yeah, Orson, you have good ideas, but the ideas scare everybody. So unless you want to be unless you want to be the Orson Welles of Vincent Price horror movies, or unless you want to be scaring people like Edgar Allan Poe, you may not make a lot of money necessarily.
Okay, and with
Oh,
that,
wait a minute though. He was on I Love Lucy, though.
Okay, yeah, true that. Would like to go to sort of a horrible fellow? How about Lee? Would you please let us know what you thought of?
Well, as I say, this is the first time I've ever sat through this movie. To be honest, for me it wasn't too long. It's just short of 2 hours. It's 1 hour 58 minutes, something like that. And it sped by because I got into the story. Orson Welles was always known for being serious. He took himself as a serious actor. The story, yeah, it's a good one. It starts off with the narration of of his death, and then it goes back and they're asking people about we've got to find out what is or who is Rosebud. His final words on his deathbed. It's. Is it the greatest movie ever made, though? I don't know. It's good. It's a good movie, but I don't know. There may be 10 other movies what you could say are the greatest movies ever made, but it's an enjoyable movie. As Alex said, it's a serious movie, but I've got no problems with that at all. Supporting cast is brilliant. You've got Joseph Cotton in this, and I did recognise Kane's mother. I forgot her name. Moorhead.
Agnes Moorehead,
which I always know from Bewitched.
Mm-hmm.
Showing me age now, but it's good. It is good. I do like the way, as they say, it's just trying to find out the truth about Rosebud. This great big this tycoon, multi-billionaire tycoon who built himself this land of Xanadu, and all these papers want to know is what is Rosebud. It's just it was a good movie. Okay. The makeup, the scalp wig thing for him when he's getting old, you can see it's a bit of a wig thing. But it is 1931. I mean, they did the best they could in them days. But yeah, Orson Welles, a brilliant actor of his time. And me personally, years ago, before I looked into all this, I always thought Orson Welles was British. Because he doesn't come across as an American accent most of the times. He always speaks well, like the old British actors used to do.
Receive pronunciation.
So most of it came from his acting school, his drama school or wherever he went. But yeah, I always thought Orson Welles was British, But hey ho, yeah, good movie. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I picked it.
Yeah.
Over to you, Susan.
All right, so Harry, what did you this was your first time seeing it too? What'd you think, Mr. Van Hoodnos?
Well, I got to say this. It was my first time seeing it. I'd heard about it over the years. I'd heard about it on these American Film Institute specials and such. But I'd never gotten a chance to see it. Never been on Turner Classic Movies. Never been on in the video store. So all I can say is up until now, I've never had a chance to see it. Heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta admit, it was enjoyable. The whole thing, from beginning to end, starting off with the scene where the glass falls as he's uttering his final words, to the end where we finally find out what Rosebud was. I mean, it's just a well-done movie, a very good, well-paced, dramatic movie. The type of movie you wouldn't mind sitting down and watching again if you got the chance. Get it for your video library. I mean, it'd be a good movie to sit down and watch. I have to say, I admit I enjoyed it the whole time through. Just one of those movies you hear about, you've heard so much about, you finally get to see the whole thing. You finally get to see this movie that was supposed to be about William Randolph Hearst and the
Mhm.
Hearst Empire,
That's right.
see what it was all about and everything. And you could see, in a sense, it was about the Hearst Empire. Well, it was an empire that most people don't know about because of back in the 70s with the Syrian Liberation Army and Patty Hearst getting kidnapped. That's the only way most people would know about the Hearst Empire. So this was something very interesting to see, very interesting to watch. I gotta say this, you get a chance to get it, do so, because you're going to be in for a treat. It's one of the top dramatic movie. I would not mind sitting down and watching it again. And
Mhm.
normally, I'm not in the habit of sitting down and watching a movie most of the time, multiple times. This one is one I would want to do.
Cool. Thanks, Harry, and thanks, Lee, and thanks, Alex. Let's see. My take on this. It is a bit. It's a bit dark. It has a lot of in terms of like the characters and the way it's written. It's written sort of like a series of manipulations done by the public around Charles Foster Kane and Charles Foster Kane to these people that were strategic in his life. And it ended up pretty brutal with Susan Alexander in that he had her, he was, absolutely a control freak over her life, and he abused her physically and stuff on screen. It was intense. And how this got so much traction is that he uses things like, for intimate stuff, he uses really tight focus, and then for the most of the movie, it's this thing called deep focus, and it's these images that are completely in focus from like right up here, right near the screen, all the way back to the very end. Here, let me show you one of the pictures. It's it is incredible how intense this can be. This is the scene of his uh, he's going for the political realm. He's running for president, and I mean, it's just huge. It's like everything from the very, very, very closest to you to all the way back there is in focus, and it makes it. I mean, his house is like that because it's so expansive. It's just like, it's like you'll never catch up with what's going on in the scene because of this deep focus, and the sound is like booming. It's like, it's not just tight mic'd. It's these echo chamber effects all over, or even not even effects. Maybe it's really like that's the way the environment reacts to the sound. But anyway, it's just intense. It's so different. And the other thing that it is it is the relationships in it are broken down. Not and there's never like a whole relationship that goes on in the movie. Nothing nothing ever does. And so, but the actors captured that. They reached a moment in this, in making this, where they had to capture these crazy characters, and anybody who loves that kind of sweeping drama will get sucked into these situations. I really enjoyed it. I love seeing this again and again, and I still have the VHS that I bought years ago, and it yeah, it was part of the TCM. Thanks, Harry, for reminding me that was the case. And
Well, they got in trouble about the cuts and the colorization and all that.
yeah, they did. Somebody tried to colorize this. Oh my gosh, really? You know, it's like no. So yeah, favorite bits. Let's go backwards. Let's go to Harry, please. What's your favorite bit of this whole movie?
I'd have to just say, there's no one scene that really is strong, comes out of the big one. But if I had to choose something, it would be at the very end. Everybody's been talking, wondering who Rosebud is. At the very end, when they got the furnace going and they're throwing things in to melt it down and everything, you see the sled, and on the sled is the word Rosebud. Nobody realized it wasn't a person, it was an actual little item. And I gotta agree with you on the colorization. This is one of those words you just don't want to touch the color. Leave it as a black and white.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and Lee, what's your favorite moments out of this, or you know, I guess stuff that you changed?
Well,
Since we went sort of grumpy there for a sec.
what you've got to realise is this film is directed by Orson Welles,
Uh-huh.
produced by Orson Welles,
Uh-huh.
co-written by Orson Welles, and stars Orson Welles.
Uh-huh.
I think he just wanted to. I think this was his first big movie. I think, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, he had a lot of input into this one. I think this was a bit of, yeah. But you see, when it first opens up, the scenes in this, you think, wait, because I say I'd never watched it before. I thought, am I watching a horror movie here?
Mm-hmm.
Up onto the, the camera going up onto the house, the really eerie music, the darkness of it all. You think, wow, this could be a horror movie. But no, it's just him on his deathbed. Then Rosebud. And also, then you've got to realise his parents sold him. Really, to Mr. Thatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sold him. And then, as you say, you find out what Rosebud is. That just means, for me, find out what Rosebud is that's when he was the happiest in his life, most probably. When he was a little kid with his sled in the snow, but yeah, the performances in this is brilliant. I mean, his second wife, the wannabe opera singer, I mean,
Susan Alexander.
She was bloody awful. But he was blinded by love.
Mm-hmm.
He loved her so much, he'd give anything to her. And he was trying to give her what she wanted. Money. This is what money does to these people. Can it buy happiness? I don't think it can. If it does buy happiness, the happiness doesn't last long, as in this movie. The happiness in the marriages don't like. I mean, he was married twice in this movie, and the happiness doesn't last long in both of those marriages. Yeah, it's. Is there anything I wouldn't? I don't know. I don't think there's anything I would change, to be honest. I mean, as you've said about the scenery, far away and close up, and it's so good. I like the way he's shot. Is it the reporters asking the questions to the people from behind?
Uh-huh.
But you never see the face of the people asking the questions.
Are you kidding?
So, cat's just fallen off the table. But yeah, that you're like the reporter was talking to Joseph Cotton. You never saw the reporter's face; you just saw it over his shoulder talking to Joseph Cotton. That was mostly a unique way of filming back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it was experimental, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've read and heard of Orson Welles is he was quite experimental with whatever he did. As Alex mentioned before, the War of the Worlds radio adaptation, that was very experimental. It sort of backfired, but it got him well known. So, yeah, good movie all in all, and I would say this is a classic. You know, when you always say a classic movie, loads of movies are always put under that title, but this, I would say, is a proper classic, American classic. Over to you, Susan.
Yeah, it is classic. And here's Alex.
Well, the other thing too, I mean, we have, Agnes Moorehead, who was in Bewitched. You have Ruth Warwick, who was in All My Children for like 500 years, as well as Susan Lucci, but she's not in this movie. You have Joseph Cotton, who was also in The Third Man as well. Like I said, I forgot that he was in I Love Lucy. I mean, but even then, he's reading Shakespeare because he's an actor. Yeah, I mean, he kind of went to humor when it was a little late. He should have been a little bit more humorous. And speaking of that, what about Pinky and the Brain, which is an obvious tribute to Orson Welles' Brain? And then they made fun of that other commercial that he did where, he hates the writing. And of course, this is the 70s, the era of the pop psychology and the beginnings of the talk show and the beginnings of reality TV on only certain stations and disco and all that. So, I mean, in a way, he must have been a little bit mad because in a way it was sort of dumbing down the society a little bit. Not as bad as it is now with the texting. But, yeah, and it's not a good idea to colorize it, Ted Turner, because guess what? You change all those dramatic shots, you change the atmosphere of the movie, you change the fact that he's using everything to add to an effect to this movie, as well as not only the battle of the sexes, but also, sadly, some sort of domestic abuse or domination. But then again,
Right.
That's the other issue, is that if some people, when they do get money, it changes them. And unfortunately, he should have been raised with a family that loved his childhood, and maybe he would have been a better person. But he learned that he could sort of buy his way through life. And that's just like being drunk and stupid. It's no way to live, son. If I could quote another movie. Not the same caliber, but still very popular. Yeah, I mean, the first two times I saw this movie, I said, yeah, this is probably, short of what's his name, Martin Scorsese or Francis Ford Coppola, in terms of where the cameras are and where the edits are and where the direction is and how tight everything is. It's probably just as good. But the problem is there's almost no likable people in this movie. And the other problem is it has so little humor in it too. I mean, he is so cold. He's so I'll buy everything. Okay, you can buy things. You can't buy people. You can't buy you can buy temporary happiness with money, but you can't buy real happiness with money. As we learn at the end with Rosebud, that yes, it was a thing, but he was doing something very natural, being outside and sledding and all this sort of thing in the snow. So, you have to wonder a little bit if he just thought, well, as long as I have money, I can buy people, and therefore I'll be happy. And that might work, and it might work for a long time if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, but yeah, no, it really doesn't. And the people that this was based on, not including Ted Turner, but the other people that it was based on, they messed up society for a long time about the marijuana and other things that they were doing, and yellow journalism and other things that they kind of messed up the society a little bit with their ideas. And that's the other problem, is that his ideas were sort of crooked. He thought he could buy everybody. His philosophy was very, very crooked. And unfortunately, when you give people power like this, and hopefully there is some sort of contrast, you kind of mess people up. And he kind of ruined a little bit of everybody that he knew. So, I mean, it is a great movie cinematically. It is a very great movie in terms of edits and dramatics and the images but yeah, is
It's
it?
not an endearing movie.
Yeah,
I
it's
think is
not.
what you're
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
not an
say.
enduring movie. Like I said, I mean, so the thing is, he only gets known for being funny with um,
Lucy.
Lucy and the commercials, and at least the other actors that were sort of serious that sound a little bit like him were able to go into comedy movies. Maybe Orson Welles was too proud to go into a comedy movie. And sort of, lighten up the reputation a little bit. He was talented. He was smart. He did have a certain style, and it was good. But it's not endearing. It's not amusing, and that I think that kind of ruined his life a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think was he married to look up? I think he was married to Rita Hayworth. I think at one point. And unfortunately, a lot of people now in social media don't understand that if you want to be famous, you had to do what the producers told you and the studios told you. It's not like now where you go, oh, I'll make my own production company, you know, or I'll do my own thing and I'll take my chances. So Rita Hayworth was Spanish originally, and I guess they did have her do a lot of cosmetic stuff so that she wouldn't look so ethnic, sadly. I think she was pretty no matter what. But unfortunately, that also messed her up as well. So in a way, it's realistic, and in a way, it isn't. It's a little strange. And I think he was married twice, I believe, just like John Wayne. John Wayne liked a lot of Spanish women as well, and
See it.
he was around
Sorry,
for
hon.
quite a while. All right, just put in Orson Welles married to, and
Okay.
see who
All right.
comes up. But anyway. So yeah, sadly,
Some other time.
no, just look it up real quick. So even though he had a great speaking voice, and even though he was very smart, and he did do challenging things, especially for the time where he could have just sold out and said, I'll be a George Burns or whatever.
Excuse
It,
me,
yeah,
he was married to Rita Hayworth from 1943 to 1947.
Okay.
And he was married to Paolo Mori 1955 to 1985.
Okay.
And then two others.
Which is a bit strange.
Well, he was married to two other people. What? No. Oh, so he had 5 wives. Holy schmoly!
Yeah.
He had 5 wives: Rita Hayworth, Virginia Nicholson, Paula More, Oja Kodar. I don't even remember who that is, and Dolores Del Rio. So he was married, and I guess he was on Magnum PI, which I forgot. I guess I need to see that episode, the original one with Tom Selleck, not the remake or the reboot or whatever. But Rita Hayworth I knew, and one of his children was a little famous, Michael Lindsay Hogg, hyphenated, and then he had two other kids, I guess, or more. So I know who Rita Hayworth is. I know who Virginia Nicholson is. The other 3 women, I don't quite know. Paula More, Orja Kadar with a K, and Dolores Del Rio. So, yeah, well, I guess he was like Citizen Kane. He liked to live big. But hey, Elizabeth Taylor married more than he did. But yeah, I mean, this is the other thing too that I have to remind some of the younger folks that the Hollywood and film were different from the 1940s to now. It's very different now. It's more independent now, and you can't necessarily look at it through the eyes of the 2000s in comparison. Well, when was this made? 1940. 19. Yeah, I mean that's a lot. What is that? 60 years or more? And that's a long stretch. So anyway, yeah. So I like the movie, but it's more of a director. It's more of a cinematic. It's more of the way things look and the way things are presented. I'll give that an 8 visually.
Okay, nope.
Slow
down. Slow down. Let me get my bits in.
Can I just put in a for all the sci-fi Doctor Who geeks out there? There is a connection with Doctor Who in this movie.
Do tell.
Mr. Thatcher in this movie is played by George Coulouris.
Yes.
He appeared in The Keys of Marinus, playing Arbitan
Huh.
in 1963, 64. So there
Cool.
you go. So 22 years later,
Later.
Kane is in Doctor Who. So there you go.
That's awesome. Okay, so my favorite part is the political, because it's really timely for what's going on right now. We've got people like Boris and Donald and stuff like that, and they kind of, in the worst ways, resemble this Charles Foster Kane, and you get a little of that stuff going on. So, because of the timeliness of the story and the timeliness of the political thing that's going on, I think that it's a really cool movie. And so because of that, I'm really glad that you chose this, Lee. Thank you. It's worth revisiting, especially in trying times. And it's also got sort of a winter feel. The whole thing feels like, even though it's set in Florida, that's a Florida that's dark and scary and foreboding, and not beaches and lawns and palm trees. It's this Xanadu tower castle thing in the middle of nowhere, in the silhouette of the moon. I mean, it's a different Florida. It's way different from the Orlando even. It's just drippy. Anyway, New York and Chicago also. I mean, like the city in the winter, and the city that never sleeps, and the windy city. I don't know. It's just, and those places play sort of characters in the movie, but lots of that happens throughout time. So enjoyed it. What do you think? What would you rate it? I guess Alex is giving it an 8. What would you rate it, Lee?
Enjoyed it. Is it the best, greatest movie ever made? I don't. It's hard to say on that one. So, great, good story, good acting. It's dark, yes, but some movies are. It kept me, glued to the screen when I was watching it. So, I'm giving it a 8.75.
All right. And Harry, what would you rate this?
9.5. It's a great movie, and the whole political scene is something that's used over and over again in movies. And such. You see it a lot. And as far as the picking the brain stuff, I only have one thing to say. Narf!
Yeah. Oh, they did have a scene which now was played on YouTube all the time. Number one of them swearing because of that other film critic guy. But the other scene was, they actually did put a scene in the Animaniacs, which they are bringing back with most of the original cast, where the brain does finally meet Orson Welles.
Nice.
And they shake hands. So that is kind of a funny in-joke in a way.
So, any other scoring thing that you wanted to go?
No, like I said, it's a good movie in terms of, like I said, like a Scorsese, like a Francis Ford Coppola, that you have this sort of, arrogant, bitter kind of world. But yeah, in terms of knowing the characters, I'm not sure if you really want to know the characters.
All right, and I'll give it a 10. You don't have to twist my arm to do that. It's got elements in it that make it so compelling, and the rest of the stuff one way and the other doesn't totally bring it down. But yeah, Citizen Kane is timely, especially with what's going on in the world politics right now. So just darn glad to know what Rosebud is finally, and I hope that you guys are darn glad to know what Rosebud is finally. And I would suggest that you keep your snow globe in your pocket and always write the bad review. Let me tell you, it apparently causes a lot of stir when you give things a bad review. So I'm actually really glad that Alex gave it an 8 and Lee gave it an 8.75, because there is just, there's something beautiful that happens when you give something a bad review. And even if like Charles Foster Kane had to peel the review out of the typewriter and then go and write it himself, that's just the way it goes in this world. Anyway, so thanks for watching Citizen Kane. Thanks for watching Geeks Assembled. Please like and subscribe, and also be hitting that little bell button to get the notifications of when we post new things. It's fairly frequently, like twice, 3 times a week. It's good. And and you like our podcast, I promise. And if you don't, I need your comments, and I need you to get involved if you don't mind the weirdness in this group. Yeah, so just get involved and come and join us. It's easy. All you got to do is be 18, and it's just easy, so easy peasy. Anyway, please do join us, and thanks for watching.